Greetings and welcome to an LGR thing, and this thing is the NuQ Gold PC Audio Interface Add-on Device, originally released in 1999 and selling for between $79 and $99 US, depending on where you got it and what it was bundled with, and well, what the heck is it? It looks a bit like a car stereo system that plugs into a PC, but it's not actually replacing anything in terms of sound devices. The whole idea here is that the NuQ Gold is a combination of hardware that augments your existing sound card without software, just an interface and a box that slots into a 5¼ drive bay. So you get some physical controls for things like volume and equalization, some mic and headphone ports, and a virtual surround sound mode. But most importantly, at least to me, is this colorful vacuum fluorescent display bringing swanky visuals to the built-in 7-band graphic equalizer and spectrum analyzer. And yeah, as soon as I saw a photo of this online a while back, I was like, I have to find one of those things. Didn't have any luck whatsoever running across one for sale in the US, but then this one popped up on Yahoo Auctions Japan. I imported it as fast as I could, and now here we are. Before we get to unboxing this and getting it set up with a classic PC of the time period, though, I want to talk about NuQ themselves for a minute, and more specifically, who is NuQ in the first place? Because there's some conflicting info online, and their origins can be tough to nail down. To begin with, these devices were sold stateside by NeoWave International, a company that was incorporated as a domestic stock company in the state of California in 1998. But the actual manufacturer was NuQ System Co. Limited in Seoul, South Korea. And they manufactured several computer-related AV products like monitors, speakers, and audio interfaces through 2005. The first product from them was the original NuQ, the Model 1379 from 1998. A 7-band graphic equalizer with physical controls to plop into a PC, as well as provide sound retrieval system 3D support. There's a good chance you've seen SRS 3D or True Surround features on a TV menu or stereo system at some point or another. It's a pretty commonplace psychoacoustic 3D audio processing standard meant to mimic 5.1 surround sound using stereo speakers and improve the depth of the audio in general. But yeah, the 1379 didn't last very long, being discontinued at retail in 1999, where it was made available to original equipment manufacturers. It was swiftly replaced by the NuQ Gold, aka the Gold DSP, which retained the SRS 3D support and added the color VFD panel on the front for those fancy visuals. These were also sold through various OEMs like Samsung and Future Power, which leads to a bit of the confusion I've seen online about what company actually made these. Regardless though, NuQ followed up the Gold with a rather similar but more costly $149 Platinum model, looking more like an automotive head unit than ever with its button layout, plus an enhanced VFD on front, an integrated FM radio tuner, and even a remote control. Ooh. But yeah, it is time to get the NuQ Gold unboxed and set up, because I have been intrigued highly ever since I saw this. I wanted it. And as far as I know, this one has not been used. You get all sorts of things in here. First things first though, I gotta check out the head unit itself, I suppose you could call it. Oh yeah. That actually doesn't smell particularly great. It smells like aging plastic. Oh man, check that out. That just looks so cool. You know, for all of the different kind of modifications that I've done for PCs over the years and putting crazy lighting and, you know, front audio interfaces like the Sound Blaster Audigy 2 that I had, yeah, I've never actually had a VFD, you know, but for graphic equalizer, spectrum analyzer stuff ever on a PC. I don't know, I've just never really seen that as a thing, so I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that it exists. So I can't wait to try this thing out. And yeah, physical controls of any kind on the front of a PC just makes things better. Look, we got a little thing right there to plug into the interface box, which I think that'll be the next item. Well, it's not really a box, but yeah. Here we go. And one end is going to plug into the back of the NuQ front panel. And then these right here are, well, for plugging into the sound card. And that's why we get some cables right here. So it really is just a pass-through device. Looks like we have mic out, something called low in, high in, and speaker. And we have a low and high switch. I guess we'll see what those do. Let's see what else we got here. We got this nice envelope in the package. Let's see what's in here. And we have some registration information here, of course in Japanese, because this one did come from the Nu-Q distributor in Japan. And we've got a quick install guide here with some handy little visuals to let you know what to do. This is interesting. So the warranty card is in English and actually goes to Neowave International in California. So we also have some English stuff here. Yeah, this is interesting. So I'm wondering if this one package was just kind of sold all over the world and maybe they just stuck that little packet of Japanese stuff in this one because it was sold in Japan. I'm assuming that's what it would be. Like Neowave just sort of handled international distribution. Because yeah, as far as I could tell, they were kind of headquartered there. And then manufacturing happened in Korea, and then they sold them in different territories around the world. Also get a handy little bag of screws here for mounting it into the computer chassis. And lastly, we've got the accessories packet. Got some coffee instant type 2 and spray-dried iodized salt. Packet of sugar. Distributed by Diamond Crystal Brands. Creamer, non-dairy dry for coffee or tea, 4 grams. Classy little bundle of toilet paper. A latex-free, moist towelette, box of matches, and a couple pieces of chewing gum. Nice. All right. Yeah. So I've got the Lazy Green Giant Pentium 3 Windows 98 PC that we're going to install this in. Let's get to it. This sucks. It's just a little more difficult than it needs to be with this rubbery coating that I put on there, but it is what it is. This will just slide into place like any normal drive, except it's not a drive. It is a Nu-Q Gold. I don't know, that actually looks pretty sweet up against the green. It's not the most ideal thing. Like, it'd be pretty cool if it had a nice brushed metallic finish instead, but I'll take it for this project. So the next part of this is the back pane here, and let's go ahead and get these cables undone. Right, so we got the audio pass-through cables, just 3.5mm stereo, and then this is gonna go down there somewhere. Oh yeah, and then of course we'll go ahead and plug this in while we're there. And it's just gonna go right here, providing an interface in between the two. And of course we need some power, and that's that part. And I'll just put the back panel piece right here. Simple enough. It's not much, but it makes me feel better. Okay, so for the back panel bit of this, we're really just going to be connecting the I/O section of the Nu-Q to the I/O section of my Aural Vortex. This is a Diamond Monster Sound MX300. And after going over the documentation, the quick start guide, I was wondering what that high and low section was on the Nu-Q. And it turns out that that relates to the impedance or the amplification level of the different line outs that may or may not be available on your sound card. Typically, like, it's the headphone one that is a bit amplified, and then this one will just be like line out. So in that case, we would just want the line out of the sound card going to the low input of the Nu-Q, which is right here. And we switch this over to low. And then the only other thing left is the microphone. So that's going to go from the microphone output of the Nu-Q to microphone input of the sound card. And then we'll be able to plug in a microphone on the front of the device, which apparently the idea is more for using in karaoke applications. I don't have any of those, but it's kind of nice just to have a front-mounted microphone input anyway. Oh, and of course, we'll be plugging in our actual speakers. Have some Altec Lansings here, and those are going to plug into the speaker output of the Nu-Q, because everything is running through that now. So let's power it on and see what happens. All right, moment of truth. Hey, we got a display. Ooh, I like that. Comes on line by line. That's neat. Oh man, dude, that's friggin' rad. I love displays like that. Seriously. Reminds me of like going to Best Buy and Circuit City and Radio Shack and anywhere back in the day that had these kind of cool car stereo systems that I was always like, man, they look so neat. Too bad I don't have a car. And then I did get one in my car one day, and then somebody wrecked that car. But you know what? This is really neat. So check it out. It is already working. The computer is not even booted into Windows yet. It's still getting into Windows 98 there, so I don't know if the sound is actually doing anything, but we got volume control and, yeah, equalizer settings. There is at least sound coming through these speakers when I do that. Try to get both of these in the frame. Okay. Well, we know the sound is coming through and it didn't seem distorted on my end, so I guess we plugged in everything correctly. So let's go over all of the things that are on here just one by one, starting with this green one here, which is for the SRS modes. So we have the first one here, which is just your normal SRS 3D. And then this is True Surround, which according to the manual, specially True Surround mode is better to enjoy DVD play. So we have the microphone input here and the headphone output right here. And well, let's just go ahead and talk about as well. The microphone button is right there. If you want to enable mic, it already is. But if you press auxiliary here, that'll bring up this little cassette tape icon. And so that's if you were going to plug in some sort of auxiliary input, whether it be cassette tape, mini disc, whatever else you want to do. EQ is of course the all-important equalizer, so if we move this around by pressing it, so we are on normal here, we go into rock, pops, classical, and then we have 3 user configurable modes, and then if we wanted to, we can actually switch these around by holding that down, and then volume chooses the range of the sound that you want to mess with, and then you have these up and down buttons for doing your graphic equalizer stuff. Intriguingly, it appears that there's also Hall, Live, Club, and Stadium modes that were on this VFD, but it doesn't actually have a way to use them. Yeah, the implication that I'm getting is that this was used in some other kind of units, perhaps, that would have had those modes available to the hardware, but not this though. The mode button we'll get to in a moment, and then lastly we have the up and down, which are for, you know, messing with the menus, and then this one also doubles as a mute button. So let's go ahead and get something playing. I'm just going to start Canyon.mid on Windows 98 over here. And this is the default mode for the graphic equalizer or spectrum analyzer portion. So if we press this, you'll be able to see the different kinds of displays that we have available. So yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot, but, you know, the few that are there, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I like this stuff. I kind of like that one. I don't know, I like all of them, really. So, I'm just gonna put it... Actually, I kind of like that one, too. That one is a lot of movement, not really useful. None of these are particularly useful. They're just kind of neat to look at. So we can check out a couple of these other things while we got this music playing. Of course, the volume. We have the mute button, which, of course, mutes. And then the equalizer. So this is normal. Actually, I'm going to put it right about here because these other ones get much louder. So we're going to go to rock, pops, classical, and then the user modes. So if we really wanted to, we could crank up the bass a bunch. Not that it's going to do much on these crappy speakers. All right, so that's pretty much what that does. Oh, the only other thing though is let's try out this True Surround SRS 3D stuff. For that, I'm gonna boot up a game. You know, one of the few things I have on here is Forsaken, which I recently reviewed. So let's go ahead and try that out. Yeah. Love that soundtrack. So, let's see if we get any kind of audio difference with this, which I'm sure we will, just not sure what. Alright, that is the SRS 3D mode. Does not sound too much different. Now that does. This is the True Surround mode. You know, I'm not sure I'd call that surround. Does it emulate 3D around me? Not really. Like, the built-in all-real capabilities that I have on this card actually sound more convincing on stereo speakers than this does. So like in all, A3D mode for games that support it, it actually does kind of simulate a 3D through stereo speakers pretty well, but I mean, this is just, I don't know, just sounds a little more complete or something on stereo speakers, which is a welcome addition, I mean, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds somewhat better. Like, it's a very subjective better, but it sounds more like there's a center channel when I enable the true surround mode. Whereas this just kind of sounds very flat. Like, there's just sound coming from two speakers. Whereas the true surround with SRS 3D, yeah, I wouldn't call it 3D. Like, I don't hear anything behind me. It's not making that happen at all. Ah, man, this game is awesome. Well, I could just play this all day, but I suppose that's about it for this video, really. Yeah. Check out my video on Forsaken here, if you have not already, because it is a fantastic little game. Well, I'm gonna leave it with a MIDI file, because I can. MIDI files and graphic equalizers and sound things. Like, it's endlessly fascinating to me. As a kid, I kind of fetishized this stuff, really, and now it's just, I didn't have a sound card until 1997. Seriously, took a while. So I was always drooling over anything audio related. And even in 98, 99, when this came out, it was still pretty fresh and amazing to me. So this would have blown my mind, and it would have been absolutely a piece of hardware that I would have loved to have had back then. Yeah, today, on the other hand, I mean, there's not really much reason. Like, in a modern system, you can do all this and way more with built-in stuff, software and whatnot. And then, of course, on here, I don't want it here because the aesthetic, of course, is not what I'm going for. Exactly. I would consider painting it green if I wanted to do that. And also if it didn't have that weird pass-through situation in the back with multiple wires going everywhere. It's just kind of a messy thing in the situation of this particular computer. This is my project box and I'm swapping things in and out all the time. I don't need like more cables and other stuff like that in the back getting in the way of other cards and things that I want to install. So I'm not going to keep it installed in this one, but I am going to find some other computer to keep it installed in just because it looks so cool. I love that aesthetic. I love all of the little mode switches and, I don't need like actual equalizer settings. I typically like to keep things pretty flat, but having the true surround to boost the output for certain speakers and stuff, that's kind of welcome, I suppose, so I'll take it. Well, anyway, yeah. That's it for this particular video, and I hope that you enjoyed what you saw and heard. I think it's a fascinating device from a fascinating time period, and I love taking looks at these kinds of things. So if you enjoyed this, stick around. There are new videos every week. And as always, thank you very much for watching.